Some people refuse to spend any money on conferences, personal development, books. And to me, that is an immediate deal breaker when someone's questioning, why'd you go to that conference? What are you getting out of it? How are you going to make money from that? What business relationship are you, it's like, I don't have to go into everything with the outcome, but
Welcome, everybody, back to another exciting show of the About That Wallet podcast, where we help the sandwich generation build strong financial habits so that they can talk about money, spend money, and enjoy their money. I'm your host, Anthony Weaver, and we have a delightful person that I've met at FinCon and had an amazing time. She is a single mom, an engineer for over 20 years, started a financial coaching practice after she went through her own personal journey, 100% debt-free, and actually having her home completely done less than 15 years. She is technically close fire. And actually she hosts her own podcast show called The Engineer Her Path. So thank you so much, Sandra, for coming on the show. How you been?
Good. Thank you for that warm introduction. That really sums me up perfectly.
Right. Well, I mean, because you've been doing quite a bit of great things in your personal life. And, one of the things that you have coming up, which I applaud you for, is actually being a keynote speaker. So how has that been? How's that journey?
Wow, that is quite the journey, because I literally gave my first speech at a big conference about a year ago. So it hasn't even been that long. And now I'm going to keynote at a conference. And I really wrestled with what to say and how to say it. And I didn't want to give just this cookie cutter, these are the tips for financial freedom. This is how you become a millionaire, just like me. Right. I feel a lot of talks at conferences, not to denigrate them, are very self-serving, right? It's like, look at me and all I've accomplished and done. But it's going to be this really deeply more personal talk about my journey and what I've learned about money, rather than just, these are the money tips and habits and advice to give. So it's been this soul searching for what is truly keynote worthy. What do I really want people to take away from my talk?
Yeah. And one of the things, because I want to applaud you for that, because first off, speaking is fun in a sense, but also it's nerve wracking until you get on stage. Yes. And then everybody's just looking at you. And when you're quiet, they're also quiet. It's like, what am I supposed to say next?
Yes. And I had to get over all those nerves. And I had a speaking coach last year. And you're right. The audience will feel the energy and the feelings that you want to portray. So when you're nervous, they will feel nervous too. Right. And I had to learn that, where if I project all this nervousness and a certain energy on stage, they're going to feel that. And I used to always feel intimidated. Why would they believe me? Why me out of anybody? I don't have a finance degree. I didn't feel like I accomplished much in life, but I realized that that's what makes me so much more qualified to speak to, normal people, regular people. We're kind of what they call the surprise and delight speakers, right?
I like that. Surprise and delight speakers.
Yeah.
Because I met you at FinCon during the first timers orientation, because I was like, trust me, I was super nervous. I was like, what are they going to get out of this? This is my 4th year here. I know people that have been here longer. And it's just like, I was like, I don't know what to give them, and what impact is this going to have on them. So I just kind of talked about the conference itself and just kind of thought about the things that were helpful to me. And so how are you, in a sense, transitioning that into your talk now?
Same like you, where I just kind of put myself in the place of my audience and what would they like to know? What would they get most out of this talk, rather than, like I was talking about, some of the talks are sometimes a bit self-centered, where it's like, I need to brag and boast about myself. But if you turn it around to, what does your audience need most from you? What would they like to hear that will change their lives, hopefully spark something? Because, in a short talk, that's not going to totally change someone's life, but maybe it's that Kickstarter, it's that little seed you planted in their head that's going to help. When I had my speaking coach and we talked about how I was so nervous to give these talks. He told me the only way you can feel nervous, if this talk is all about you and what you think people will think of you, then you have the right to be nervous. But he said, if this is about the gift you can give to the audience, what can they learn from you? And like I was saying, it's not about being the most polished speaker. People want to hear your experiences. And like how you had your experience of being a first timer not that long ago. I had no idea that you hadn't spoken a lot before that. I thought you were like a pro at speaking.
Well, I will say my coach, she's been the only person I talked to, is Bernadette Joy. And so she's been really helpful in my speaking journey, to the point where now it's like anything that comes up, I'm like, let me talk to her first, see what she thinks about it. Let me do a dry run with her, and just to kind of get comfortable with that. But podcasting has really helped me with that, because it helps me stop saying the ums and the uhs all the time. Now that I hear it on the audio side of the house, I'm like, man, I do say and all a lot.
Yeah. Podcasting is a great correlation to speaking. And I'm sure you can talk about your podcasting journey too, but it really opens you up to where you can speak on camera. You're speaking to an audience. Like I said, it's not this self-serving, like, look at me, I'm a millionaire. It's what do you have that the audience can take away and learn from you, even though we may not be the same, right? And it's just different parts of the journey. So like when you were speaking at FinCon, you had been a few more times, you're more seasoned than us. And we're all the first timers that have never been and overwhelmed by this big conference. And what are we going to learn or take away from it? And you did a fantastic job.
Thank you. Because trust me, I was like, I don't know what they're going to know. It was a lot. It was a very stressful moment. So because you're also a podcaster and getting ready for all of this and just really knocking it out the park, checking all the boxes, doing all the cool stuff that people wish they were able to do it at your age. Take us back to that moment when you first thought about, even thinking about FIRE or even your financial journey. Like, what kicked it off?
Yeah, I was just reflecting on it this morning when I was thinking about my speech. I had worked at the same company right out of college for about 15, 16 years. And I took this voluntary layoff, which meant, I was voluntarily leaving my company. I was taking a bit of a layoff package, but I was burnt out, and I let that company and my job be my whole identity. It was a big, globally well-known company. So when I told people the name, everyone thought I had made it, and I worked like 50 or 60 hours a week. And then when I got off work, I hung out with work people and we talked more about work.
Oh, you hate that?
Yeah, so that it was like I was either working or my social life revolved around work. And then I had the fancy title. I was climbing that corporate career ladder. I was hitting the 6-figure mark. But it was interesting because when I look back on it, I was still broke. I was making good money, like on paper in my job title and all that, but I didn't have any money left over for me. And for good or bad, I was paid weekly. I got a weekly paycheck, which I know is unusual at a lot of salary jobs, but that's how I managed my money. Was I would just get another paycheck on Friday, and then I'd go spend that. And then the next paycheck was coming next Friday. And I'd worked since I was 15, 16 years old. So I just thought the way to manage money and do well in life was to work hard. But I started realizing none of that money or anything I was doing was building anything for myself. It was all just going out of my fingers and out of my bank account as soon as I got it. And I thought, what am I truly building? Because like I said, I was burning out. My health was suffering a little bit. I didn't really have much of a life outside of work. And taking that time off from that company, it actually spanned a little over a year. It was 13 months, was really eye-opening because I didn't have my fancy job title. I remember even dating in that time period. And I would meet people because they're brand new people to me. And one of the first things people ask is, what do you do?
Exactly, right.
Yeah, and your whole identity is around work. And I was so bad about it. I would just tell people I'm unemployed, and people were not happy with that answer. Yeah, I didn't get a lot of second dates because people didn't understand. They're like, what? And then you're living at your dad's house and you don't have a job? Yeah. So, I had to really reshaped my whole identity in life. And that was the year when I really got serious about my money. And I was really good at earning it. Like I was very good at earning the money and of course spending it.
Right.
But now I had to learn how to keep more of it and invest and grow the money and let my money work for me instead of me working so hard for my money. And it was really when I took ownership of I have to manage my money for once in my life. The next paycheck is not coming on
Right.
Friday. And
Like every Friday that you were getting.
yeah, I had that paycheck coming. That was how I was going to get more money. And then I would just get free, bad financial advice, well-meaning, but
Mhm.
it's just cookie cutter. You're searching on the internet. I'm asking coworkers, male coworkers, what should I invest in? Maybe asking my dad or my brother. So it was when I took that ownership where I got to figure some of this stuff out for myself and really start managing and figuring out money that like everything shifted. And yeah, that was in 2016. And since then, now I'm a multimillionaire, paid off house. So I always tell people like in less than 10 years, in less than a decade and on a single income. And I didn't have a business built up back then. So believe me, it was mostly V2 income. It wasn't based on building a business. It's entirely possible. That whole decade of focusing on my money has paid off where I can live an entirely different life now.
And I've heard that story. I think it's what Tim Ferriss, the 4 hour work week.
Yeah.
I think either him or somebody else was saying that like you can be a millionaire in 10 years. Do you think that is possible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I tell people, I did it on one income. I wasn't married. I was divorced and single almost that entire time. I didn't build it off business income. It was just intentionality, focus. It was steady, consistent actions. I definitely wasn't perfect by any means. I've made a lot of money mistakes, but it was doing mostly good things most of the time. That's what I tell people. Not about perfection, not like I made huge lump sum big investments and all that. But no, it was just learning about it. And I think really for me, the big thing was finally taking ownership where I wasn't outsourcing my financial education and literacy to someone else or somebody else anymore. I'm someone who used to spend on credit cards. I used to charge things up on credit cards. And now I'm someone who doesn't. I had that transformation and shifted where, yeah, one big thing I used to do was I would always charge the vacations. I would justify not really the daily purchases and my bills, but I would justify paying for vacations on credit cards. And I remember the last vacation I paid for on credit card was Disney World and, never again, because, for like that week of, you ball out,
Hmm.
you go to all the parks and spend all that money and all that. And of course, it's that guilt, that mom guilt. You got to, create memories and you can't go to Disney World too late or your kid will not, I don't know, they'll be deprived. That's probably not true. So I had that guilt where I need to do it by a certain age because my son will remember and we're going to create these memories. And just thinking about how much I spent and how long it took to pay that off with like close to 30% interest. And now I'm a person that I'll only pay for vacations and travel if I have the cash up front and I pay everything in full. You come back from the vacation, it feels good. There's no bills, no credit card statements coming after the vacation. That was a huge shift for me.
Yeah. So can you take us back, like when you were out of the job, I guess you could say scenery for a while.
Yes.
Did you do like a lot of reading books or like to before you started your next job to kind of say like, you know what, I'm coming to this job with intentional mindset to actually start building up my wealth again. So this will never happen again.
Yes, that's very true. So some of the books and things I read, one of them you mentioned, 4 Hour Work Week. I still have that book. I reread it from time to time. And it doesn't all like make sense to you like the first time you read it. Cause actually when I read it and even during that time period in 2016, I had no desire to create any type of business at all. My intention was to, get another engineering job. I did kind of explore, I was looking into maybe buying a franchise, which glad I didn't. Probably bad, yeah, looking back. But I thought like, someone already created a business. I can just buy a location of the business is already, but I don't think I would have been happy doing that, just buying a McDonald's or a Chick-fil-A or, some type of, it wouldn't be my passion. I don't think it would certainly be a business generating money. I went through that thought process. I took Financial Peace University for the first time
Okay.
in my life. That
Nice.
was very transformative. And that was back before it was virtual. So I
Uh-huh.
went in person. I actually went to a church I didn't belong to to take Financial University.
You're like,
Not
hey, I'm
not
just
because I
here for
felt
class.
bad, but yeah,
I'm just here.
I was in a different city because, I was living with my dad and I would go to Financial Peace University and I was actually doing all the things in the workbook. But it was funny because I remember when he talked about doing a budget and all that. And then I did the budget on paper and I'm like, wait, like everything's still the same. Nothing changed in my life. I thought everything's supposed to change now. And then it was only till I spent so much time. I watched hours and hours and hours of The Budget Mom. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Mm-mm, not
She used to
familiar.
have these, I don't think they're on her YouTube channel anymore, but kind of the YouTube university was a way I learned a lot of personal finance. I watched a lot of Rose Hahn. I'm trying to think I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And up to that time period, I was never into personal development at all. So I know a lot of people talk about how they've read these books when they're a teenager or 18 or in their early
I
20s.
wish. I wish.
Okay, you,
Yeah.
okay.
This is all accumulated within like the last 3 or 4 years. So
Okay, so I'm pretty late also to like personal development, personal finance, actually reading nonfiction books. Even though
uh-huh.
I read books up to that point, they were mostly just fiction. And I actually switched to reading things like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which kind of opened up my mind. And, Total Money Makeover. I took Financial Peace University and learning all this stuff on YouTube. And yeah, really transformational was Budget Mom videos. She had these like over hour-long videos where she went through excruciating detail of exactly how to budget. And I don't think she does them anymore because it probably wouldn't be popular. I mean, it's like she does shorter videos where it's like her money morning check-in. But just watching those and kind of trying to follow along and understand the logic. Because on one hand, budgeting sounds super simple. It's just adding and subtracting, but it's kind of not. It's one of those things deceptively, it sounds simple, but actually doing it, it's not. And yeah, doing those types of things was my own journey. And I remember another belief that I used to have was I used to think car payments were okay. And that took me a long time to wrap my head around about cars being a depreciating asset and all that. Yeah, now I've finally got to the point where I'll buy cars in cash.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because I'm at the point. Well, I'll still finance one, but I'll still try to make it like I'm able to pay it off within 3 years. That's
Yeah,
usually
I
my
like that
goal.
too. I
Yeah.
like that too. If you could pay it off in 2 or 3 years. But yeah, I remember that was one thing that really I kind of disagreed with when I started learning personal finance stuff. Like, why not? If you can handle a car payment, why not make it? Until I started having that analogy of you're throwing money out
Hmm.
the car window every time you're driving. I'm like, oh, now it makes more sense.
Yeah.
It's going down in value all the time.
So, because you talk about throwing money away, and a lot of people say, okay, well, I'm not at $1 million yet. Probably got some debt. What was the one thing that kind of helped you like catapult yourself to that $1 million? Not so much so to the $1 million mindset, but also to have your first million. So what was that like?
Okay. Oh, yeah. So another big thing I failed to mention was I was highly leveraged before I went into this year time period. And I sold 2 properties, not at a loss. I did pretty well on all them. And really, I always tell people like I was an accidental landlord. And I was very fortunate because I really don't have any horror stories or bad stories. I was really, really fortunate. They were both positive. They both cash flowed and all that. But to me, what it was that stress at night, knowing I had hundreds of thousands of dollars of debt hanging over my head. And if something bad happened, if I had someone that didn't pay, if I had a vacancy for a long time, how would I make it? So even though probably on paper and for other people, they wouldn't have sold, I probably could have made more if I held on to them longer. To me, having that peace of mind, and I call it kind of like de-risking my life, where, I'm trying to get a lot of the debt out of my life, really, really helped catapult me. of course, the budgeting, actually mastering and doing the budgeting, looking at my spending. There was a time when, as a single person, this is when my son was really tiny. I can't even make the excuse that it was him. I was spending close to $1,000 on eating out.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is like years ago. So imagine like
Okay.
today's prices. It'd probably be
Oh
like
my gosh.
2,000.
Yes. And then DoorDash wasn't around back then.
No, it wasn't DoorDash. It was literally like just going to restaurants and eating there. I didn't even do takeout very much. I just liked eating out a lot. I didn't really feel like I had a lot of time for cooking. Of course, when you feel like you have a higher salary, there's this I deserve this mentality. I deserve to have a nice meal. Or if I had a stressful day at work, I'm like, I deserve to go out and get, pie and a dessert and appetizer and all the things.
The full course meal, right?
Yeah. But I was doing that way too much. And when I was starting to budget and track my spending, it was that awareness around how much I actually truly spent. And I also had a lot of keeping up with the Joneses, because I was around other engineers and we were making a pretty good salary for our area, right? So I think when I started out, a family of four in my area, lived off like 40, 50K. And that's kind of what an engineer starts at. So you imagine that's your starting salary. You're making like
Right.
at the median of, so you have a lot of expendable, consumable income and you can find ways to spend it on, visiting makeup counters. And I remember like garment steamers. And I used to be so bad about looking at other people's social media and really envying the houses they had, the kitchen upgrades, the travel, the cars and all that. So I had that keeping up with the Joneses, kind of also having to moderate not being on social media so much because I just knew for me, and now that's bad for everybody. It was bad for me. It made me
Yeah.
compare myself to others. Yeah.
So is this something that like your parents have distilled in you as far as like, you know what, hey, you should focus on yourself or just kind of make sure you get your degrees, make sure you work hard because like you said, mentioned earlier, it's like that's the only way you really can make more money. It's like you got to work hard to make it happen. Or was it just something like, you know what, you yourself decided like, I want to do this.
I was thinking about that earlier today. I don't know. I think it's a combination of both because I didn't realize that. So I used to feel bad about this, that I'm a high achiever.
Mhm.
It's so funny. It was only till I had a therapist and she's like, "Oh, you're a high achieving person," and she made it sound like it was kind of like not like the best thing. I'm like, "Well, yes. Like, isn't everybody like? Don't we all want to be high achieving?" But that's not everyone's. It's so funny because my son is not like that necessarily. He's very laid back and not like trying to, win at everything. It was funny. Even when he was in band, I
Yeah.
remember I would say stuff like, "Don't you want to be first chair?" He's like, "Why?" He doesn't care. He just wants to be in the band and play the instrument. Whereas the way I see things, if I'm going to do something, I want to be the best at it. I want to be first chair. And I didn't realize that it took me a while that everyone's not like that. And then I don't think my parents instilled it in me, but they also do have that more of an immigrant mindset. I also think Asians are a little bit like this, where we truly believe that the harder you work, the
Uh-huh.
more you get. It's not about being noticed. It's not about speaking up. It's not about having boundaries. If you just work a lot, you will get noticed. And that's how you get recognition and money and everything else.
That's interesting because I have thought about that too. Because as a business owner, the more niche down and more specialized you in, yes, the more money you'll get in that aspect. But when you're at the W-2 side of the house, the more great work you do is the more work you get for the same pay. If
You're
that
so
makes sense.
right.
It is so backwards. Like, trying to shift the mindset from the school side of mentality of like, hey, they build you up to be a good worker,
Yes.
but not a good entrepreneur to run a business. And I think that's one of the things that kind of impacts us as we try to learn all of this. And I think that's interesting
Right.
to see like how your child is like, yeah, wh- but does he have other interests or something like that? That he's like, yes, I'm gonna excel at this because I'm number one at this, or
Not really. It's not his mentality or goal in life. It's just interesting because it's such a different way of thinking for me. Because I think anything I want to do, I want to excel at. But if you think about it, like hobbies and just having fun,
Yeah.
you're not always trying to excel at it. You have to actually have things that you're not so great at and bad in life where you just do it for no other reason, no business reason. No, you're trying to learn something. It's just for the sake of doing it. So that's what I think those people master more of, right? Just having fun and doing it for the sake of doing it, right?
Yeah, then you become a what they call them. It's like you have so many hobbies at the same time because like I bought a
Yes.
bike. Like I like biking, like being out on trails, but I'm not doing Tour de France or anything like that. So why I get the best bikes? Like, I'm just outside. I'd be happy to do that. I like bowling. So, I can do the little curve bowls and all stuff like that. But it's just fun for me. But I'm also very competitive. So if I'm bowling with people, it's not as fun. It's I don't know.
Or
So like I go bow solo. So that's my thing. And it's like skating, like doing different things because it's like I'm okay with it. I'm okay not being the best at it because I look at it more of an art, if that makes sense.
I like that. I like that because I have to think more like that too. It's interesting because, of course, on dating sites, when you're talking about your hobbies, one of the first things people will say is like, what's your bowling score?
Uh,
Like, are you
They
part of a
actually
league?
say
Like,
that?
no, it's people, if you start bringing up their hobbies, I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
people
that's
want
true.
to know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
how good are you at it? And it's like, what's wrong with saying, like, maybe I only go once a month and I'm not part of a league and I don't have like a bowling coach.
Right. Self-taught. Yeah. Because I think
Yeah.
the average now is about 130. If anybody actually
Okay.
listening.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I think we all need to embrace more of that, just like doing things that we're not entirely that good at. And it's the joy of learning it. And it has no other purpose or life, no business. And you're not trying to make money out of it. It's not to network or anything. And yeah, that's what I love. Yeah.
So you because I was actually thinking about doing a live show talking about where do millionaires hang out? What do they have interest in? Because for people just trying to change their mindset or change their circles, has your circles of friends changed since you've hit that millionaire status, or do they even really care? They was like, it's just Sandra.
I wonder, I don't know how many people know because I have to admit, I've only been more recently transparent about it. And then for a while, I know this sounds bad, I would kind of downplay it. I'd be like, oh, I'm just a millionaire. And then when I hit the multimillionaire mark, I would still say I'm just a self-made millionaire or debt-free millionaire. But now I'm like, multimillionaire.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Kind of always kind of like hiding it. It took me even a while to be open about paying off my house. So it's been very gradual because on one way, yeah, you're right. I don't want people to think worse of me or judge me. But it was interesting. I gave a talk earlier in the summer and it wasn't a big group of people, but I'm like, well, since it's here in person, I'm just going to tell them I'm a millionaire. And nobody was like falling over themselves or seemed super impressed or seemed upset. So I was
Right.
like, oh, like, it's okay to say it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I was so worried about the judgment either way, bad or good, or, people. Even when I talk sometimes a little bit about paying off my house online,
Uh-huh.
sometimes, I don't know, I just get people seeming to imply like somebody else helped pay off the
Uh,
house, or somebody provided the down payment or something. But, I'm really transparent about how much I put down, how long it took, like what I did and all that. And yeah, so it's been a journey of being more open about it. I don't know how you feel about it because I also worried about, well, what if my coworkers or what if people from work or my family,
uh-huh.
hear or see this? So, no, it's only been more recent that I've been more open about these types of things.
Yeah, I think there's a phrase, I can't remember. I know Jay-Z said something similar to it, but it's like, what I do don't make you, poop. And so, like, yeah, he said, what I eat don't make you poop. So, in a sense, it's like what you're doing on your own doesn't impact the way how you live in your life. So, it's like, who cares? I guess they shouldn't care. I mean, nobody should be coming to you. The only person that really cares should be you, you know?
Yeah, you're right. And I think that's what it was. In my head, I thought everyone would care so much or change their perception of me. But that was all in my head, and I don't think it really matters that much. But no, back to your question about, I do think I've up leveled a little bit of who I'm around because it does affect who you're around, right? I mean, when you're around people that are complaining all the time or think nothing's possible, or and I'm not saying, even people that just seem like very aimless in life, right? Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I actually encounter that a lot. I don't know if it's just my
Really?
age range. I think it's the 40s where people feel lost, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I'm in my 40s and it's not lost. It's just kind of, for me, it's just like so many, the world opens up a little more of the possibilities.
That maybe is a better way of describing it. That's what it is. Maybe they're searching, they're seeking. And I'm not saying I've figured out everything in life and what I wanted and I'm
Hmm.
truly all enlightened, but I'm kind of moving on a path, right?
Yeah.
And then the other people sometimes are want to sit and talk about it for 4 hours. And it's not, and I still love them. And I know they're, a little further back and they're seeking and they're wondering, but some of those I might be like, oh, I gotta go like after 2 hours, right? Limiting that.
Right. Politely. You're like, you know what?
Yes.
Yeah, I got this thing that gotta go. It's nice meeting you. I'll catch up with you later. Right.
Yeah. 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 And getting better about that. I used to not have good boundaries about how do I leave conversations? How do I leave this interaction? How do I decline something? And just protecting some of my mental energy around that type of stuff. And like I said, I love those people. And they're people, like I said, they're seeking or they're lost. They're trying to figure out what they want to do. And I can help them a tiny bit, but, I'm not like a business advisor or, I'm not going to be like business coaching or like, you can do it. Like, you can get that next job. But some people want that. They want a cheerleader. They want a
Yeah.
cheerleader for helping them get a job, pushing them to start a business. And I'm like, it's not my point in life to help anybody do that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
So it's just, they will get to where they need to get to in the time they need to get to. And yeah, I think there was a time when I was a little more pushy about those things. Like I wanted to just coach people that don't want to be coached, probably,
Yeah.
and it's just, they will figure it out.
Because I know dating, and obviously that comes up in dating too,
Yes.
has I'm actually wondering what is the one thing that you like, that's a definitely red flag mentality when they was like, I'm trying to start my business and trying to do this. Like, how do they start that conversation off? Like,
The entrepreneurs.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of dreamers, what I call dreamers. And yeah, I want doers.
Okay.
Even if they're failing, even if
Yeah.
they're just going out there and trying and doing things. But yeah, I do think in this age range, maybe in the 20s, it was kind of sexy to listen to people dreaming about all the
Mhm.
things they would do. Now, this is a decade where people need to be doing a little more and having results. And as much as, like I said, I'm not trying to value just ambition. I want to see
Right.
people like work hard and they have a vision of what they're doing in life. And that's very important to me because I feel like I'm kind of at that point. So I want someone who's there too, right?
Yeah, it was just fair. I mean, like you say, and this is one of the things I love the golden rule versus the platinum rule, which is the golden rule, which is treat people the way you want to be treated. And then the platinum rule is treat people the way they want to be treated. And because of that, you already know, like, hey, well, this is what you're looking for. I'm not that. So have a good day. And that's what if I'm getting what you're saying accurately.
Yes, yes, yes. And just realizing we don't vibe and match on that. There's nothing wrong with people who want to watch Netflix for 8 hours after they get off work.
I can't.
but
I can't.
but there's also people that will criticize me because I'm not gonna do that with them, right?
Uh,
And I have things I want to do. I have appointments I keep. I have conferences I want to go to that sometimes cost me money. So that's another big differentiator. Have you ever noticed this with people? Some people refuse to spend any money on conferences, personal development, books. And to me, that is an immediate like deal breaker when someone's questioning, why'd you go to that conference? What are you getting out of it? How are you going to make money from that? What business relationship are you, it's like, I don't have to go into everything with the outcome, but I
right.
know it's good for me to go and to be around those people and learning what I want to be learning at that type of thing. That shows me that they're not interested in investing in themselves at all.
And I'm wondering, because I was even thinking about that too, if FinCon in general, or just we use an example of FinCon is because I was talking to somebody else, one of the guys who was also single, and we are just kind of just chit chatting, and they were talking about as far as the dating scene when it comes to somebody that's at least in the financial awareness space of like, hey, at least they're not gonna try to take you for your money. And it's kind of like this is a perfect place because everybody's already invested in themselves. They actually showing up to
Yeah.
actually get something out of it. And it just kind of makes sense if this is what you're looking for. Obviously, you got to, kind of break the barrier because everybody's like here to focus on business right now. It's just kind of like, oh, you want to talk about dating? We can wait later. And that's the important thing. I think that is interesting to find somebody that's in the space or in the same mentality is to kind of go to different conferences, like you said, to invest in yourself. I think that might be the new dating platform.
Maybe that's like a good deal breaker question in the beginning. Or you could tell a story of how you went to FinCon and you kind of see
Ah,
their reaction. If they're kind of like, well, what did you get out of it? How much did it cost? And why would you go? And versus like, what did you learn and who did you meet? And are you going next year? And,
right.
what other kind of conferences and what else do you spend money on to improve yourself in business? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is interesting. Okay, well, this is not a dating show, so maybe it might be a little spinoff. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like a financial dating show. But coming down to talk about your child now, because, sandwich generation, how has your child been accepting you openly talking about finances with him?
I would say not super well right now. He's definitely at a rebellious stage in life. I feel like he had kind of like a later rebellion. And I'm not saying rebellious as in sometimes I'll tell people my kid's rebellious and then someone's like, oh, like, is he bringing over girls and doing, I'm like, no, not like that. Like, he won't wash the dishes. Like when I asked him, like little things like that. And he's asserting more of his independence. So it's funny because I used to want him to sit in the Financial Peace University classes I was teaching. I'm like, oh, it'd be so cute. Why don't you join me on camera
Yeah.
and we're going to do it together? And no one should ever put that on a teenager. They do not want to join you on camera to teach a financial class to strangers on Zoom.
They could do other things, see that.
Yeah, it sounds cute in theory because you see a lot of couples teaching Financial Peace University, but they're both adults and they're doing that. So I realized like, he's not going to be like my co-financial teacher or in my business that much. But I do think it's rubbing off in him seeing my actions, lecturing kids about money. Yeah, they could care less and all that, but they watch it through your actions more. It's also where I did learn some of my financial education through watching my parents because they were
Really?
so debt averse. They came here from another country. So they didn't talk about finances necessarily, but I saw them how they treated their money, even though they're a bit more on the very frugal side, almost a little cheap, but they came from another country and all that. So later in life, that's different, but I definitely think it's rubbing off, even though he says it's not.
Right. Next thing you know, he was like, do you heard about the rule of 72? And I'm like, oh, yeah. And it's
I'll be so
okay.
happy when that day comes. I did help him open his first Roth IRA. It was kind of eye
Nice.
opening because I think to like people like you and me are like, it's so easy. It takes 5 minutes. Now you can
Yeah,
get
it
on
takes 5.
schwab.com. No, it's stressful to a young person. Very, very stressful. Because we think of the times when you had to like walk into a brokerage firm and it took weeks and weeks and all that. Now you can go online, but you have to remember they're used to everything is done so quickly and easily. They don't have that experience of like, oh, like this is easy. It's like, it is, and, yeah, so I helped him with that at the very least, but I try to not interfere too much. I hope, like you said, one day he'll come around and he'll be reciting financial things to me.
So is there something that you'll give like a note to give a parent to even start not even a 529 plan, but just an investment account for their child? Like say if their child just turning 2 or turning 5 or something like that under the age of 10, to kind of get them started on thinking about investment for their child.
Yeah, I definitely think UTMAs are great if they don't want to do a 529, but I have a great story about my son's 529
Yeah.
because I started his 529 when he was really young, and I picked a bad one, to be honest, and it was just losing money all the time.
I say 2020, right?
Yeah, it was terrible, and I wasn't investing very much in it. And during this time of 2016, when I went through my financial transformation, I moved it to a much better account. And from some of my house proceeds, I did do like a big lump sum into it. I think I put 40K into it. So not a lot, but I figured it would grow to a certain amount even without monthly or weekly investing. And I wanted it to grow to about like 97K by the time he got to college. I wanted him to still fund a good portion of it himself. But with the really good stock market, it's done way better. It's more like 150 right now. So
what? That's awesome.
Yeah. So don't despise like small beginnings, late starts. This was around when he was 10. It didn't have a whole lot of time to grow. And you can't promise those types of returns, but we did have a really good stock market run during the time.
Because you had a crash in it. No, was there like a small crash during that time frame? Well, COVID.
Yeah, 2008 and all that. COVID, it kind of went down, and I was kind of worried about that because I was around the time you start in college. But no, I never think it's too late, and it's just, it makes me feel good that his college is secure no matter where he wants to go. Now I've probably overfunded it. I mean, but most other people don't have that issue, or they have other kids. And there's a lot of other stuff you can do with money. Never think it's too late to start saving for or investing for your kids' college.
So what are your investment, if you don't mind talking about like your investment portfolio? Because I'm like, a lot of people look into ETFs or individual stocks or index funds. Which ones are you mostly throwing everything in? We can talk percentages, only actual numbers.
Oh, okay. Well, when I first started my financial journey, I actually admit I had a financial advisor, and I did the traditional mutual funds. And I know a lot of people say they can't beat index funds. It was pretty anal about. I was checking it all the time and making sure it was beating index funds and the stock market and all that. And I'm really grateful that I had a really good financial. I know that's not everyone's experience, but I had a really good one who helped guide me. And I think it was really good during those years because I was such a nervous investor. You know, I had done a lot of do-it-yourself type of stuff, and I'd done it really, really badly, to be honest. Like, I've done like every bad thing you can do with investing. I did robo-advisors, I did margin, I did options, and all like doing it so poorly, Robinhood, every bad mistake you could think of, bad emotional, going in the app and trading everything and getting upset and watching my stocks every single day and freaking out. And so I think having a financial advisor to help guide me and kind of keep my hands off the money and trading it all the time I had him for close to a decade. And just since then, since I've pulled it out, I'm not quite sure I want to invest it yet. I've had it parked in index funds and it's still doing well. But I really grew it to that wealth with the help of a financial advisor. It really helped me kind of like just buy and hold and pick good things. And like I said, there's still good ones out there. I just think people have to start seeing it as you're partnering with this person. You're not outsourcing every single financial decision. You're not keeping your hands off the money. Like, I was in the account, I was looking at it, I was questioning things. Of course, there were times when I would panic and I would message him and he'd stay the course.
Stay the course.
He helped me stay the course. Yes. I mean, of course, it's my money. I could have traded or changed, but I think for a while it's nice to have someone help guiding you with it, whether they're managing the assets or not. So, I know a lot of other people in the fire community are very like do-it-yourself from the offshoot, but I think I was just way too into doing everything with no sense of risk in the beginning. That was my problem, and doing a lot of emotional, reactionary investing and trading.
And it helps you, but like you say, you're a doer, which means like you tried it, you realize your limitations, and let somebody else handle it. So how did you pick them? Because a lot of times people just don't know how to pick or vet the right person.
Yeah, this is so, so important. And I admit I probably didn't do the best job. I was really, really fortunate because I picked someone through the Ramsey Solutions Network. And I'm not saying that 100% of them are all great and good. Some of them only want to be aligned with the Ramsey brand name. But the one I picked, he's super like heart of a servant, a teacher. He was a former engineer. So he transitioned to being a financial advisor later in life. So I was just really blessed I found a good one. looking back, I only interviewed one person. I should have interviewed 3 to 5 people, and asked them all different questions and all that. But yeah, so I feel bad when I hear these stories of people getting scammed and, they're slimy ones. Cause it's true. It's absolutely, and for full transparency, I was a financial advisor for a time too.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I'm really passionate about it. There's good ones out there. But you have to sift through people and you have to truly interview them. And you have to know that they have your best interest and care about your money and all that. And
So
yeah, I'm just super, super lucky.
what would be your like top 3 questions to interview them then?
Ooh, if I was doing it now.
Yeah.
See, maybe just because it relates more to me, I do like the career changers. I know some people don't like career changers. I think I like the people that I feel like they're doing it more as a mission and maybe they chose it later in life. They feel like I have no choice, but I need to go do this, even if it makes less money. So I think that's one thing I really liked about him. So maybe someone who had a traditional W-2 professional type job for a while and switch to being a financial advisor. I know that that's not really the greatest criteria, but I think that's the person I would relate to the most.
Yeah.
I probably want to ask about communication. Like how do you communicate? I think another good thing for people, especially if they're a newer, newbie investor, maybe understanding how many clients they have. So you can understand maybe how much attention you would get. Because if you're only going to hear from them once a year, that's different from you might hear from them once a quarter. Or if you talk about communication policy, if I send you an email, how quickly would I get a response? Or do you like text messages or do you prefer
Versus phone call.
email? Yeah. Yeah. So I think a lot of people don't understand that because they'll go to like the big people, right? Or the Fidelity or the Schwab, and they won't give you very much personal attention because they have hundreds of clients. They just can't.
That makes
Right.
sense.
And yeah, so maybe like that, they don't have a huge client roster, high touch, maybe more of a similar background. And values too. I think values are important. Someone who maybe doesn't value making the most money, doesn't value just the highest returns. I also want that person that can help guide and advise me about, making money this tool for me, right, in my life, rather than I'm just working for the money.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that because you know, dealing with like a lot of people. I had one person come on the show. He was like, I hate all of them. I hate all because he got I think his father got burned through that process, and since then he lost his father lost his whole life savings, caused a lot of turmoil in the family. So he's more like a DIYer through and through. So it's good to hear both sides now. Do you improve, like, do they actually talk about like dollar cost averaging, or you just kind of like when the market goes down, I'll throw in this day, or do you do dollar cost averaging?
I pretty much do dollar cost averaging, steady, consistent investing all the time, whether the market's good or bad, kind of ignoring all that, the economic gyration and all the stuff in the news. I used to be a little more into, I'm trying to time this, right? But that just makes, monitoring the news and all that like a part-time job, right? And
It
that's
is.
where I don't want that mental stress and energy going to where, we can read Yahoo Finance, but do we really know everything that's going on and economically, politically, who knew COVID would affect everything so much? But yeah, yeah. Oh, I do have well, actually, I was going to tell you, I do have a bad story about financial. My very first one was terrible. I
Do
actually
share,
had
right?
one before that. Yeah. Yeah. I almost forget about it because I don't really even consider him a financial advisor. It was an insurance salesman. I'm not going to name the company. It's a really big, well-known name. And they kind of couched themselves as a financial advisor. And this was like me in my 20s, not knowing very much about money or investing. And this is one reason why I don't agree with how some of them do it, because they don't look at your whole holistic picture. And I remember them like running these numbers and this person telling me I needed to invest $1,000 a month. This is in my 20s.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, you getting $1,000 a month for?
I know.
But okay.
$1,000 in the 20s. And this was like years ago. And stressing me out about that. And it was also part of it was to invest in a whole life policy. which I held it over time. It made no money. When I cashed out, I lost money on it. And I had to take those losses because he was couching it as like, it's a saving investment vehicle for you. You have life insurance and this and that. And yeah, I just think back to how, I got some really bad advice from someone to buy, a high commission product for an insurance agent. Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like not every solution is for your lifestyle, for your thing. And that's one of the things that, we love about the financial community. It's like it's personal finance is personal. And that avenue doesn't work for you, especially. And like you said, it was just like a bad investment. Because I did hear about that. Even I think Bigger Pockets talk really big about this is trying to piecemeal your life insurance to do a term and then do an investment on something else, because you can just use the money to invest in other avenues.
Yeah. And you're right. Because really, it's not that it's bad in and of itself. It's combining those two, your investing, savings, life insurance into one product that doesn't make it the best product. And like we're talking about, $1,000 for anyone in their 20s, even now, I mean, and someone's scaring you, you're not gonna have enough to retire if you don't do this,
But I mean, you've proven it.
Yeah. There's no way. I really even tell people, in those younger generations, whatever you can do, because you're kind of building that muscle. It's less about the amount. It's more about build that consistency and the habit of steady, consistent investing. Once they see the returns and they see the growth in their portfolio, that's going to motivate them to, let's do some more. I got another raise. My salary has gone up. And I wish I had someone that, talked to me more like that instead of kind of scaring me. Like, if you don't do this now, you know what I mean? And not realizing that like most 20-year-olds are not going to be able to invest $1,000 a month, and how stressful that was on my budget.
Yeah. Cause but we can go further into that one, but, let's move on. Because I want to get to the future side of the house. Because you did talk about your 20s, and now that you now in your 40s, getting into your 50s, like what do you feel as though it's going to improve your career or even just your life in general, just going forward? What do you think that's going to?
That's scary. I don't think I've even thought that far. I'm 45. It's only 5 years away. That's right. So true. That's so true. I got to start thinking about that. So one lesson I learned is that, like, I call it a mini retirement, that year I took off, right? And, there's like two big, theories that people have. One is like, do absolutely nothing. And then there's one where it's more like, have a purpose and do some stuff. And because I was so type A and hard charging, people were really like, just do nothing. Why are you trying to plan anything you're doing in this year? Just do nothing. And I realized, at least for me, I'm sure there are people that are okay with doing nothing. That was really hard to just do nothing. And I'm not saying I filled my life with like everything as much as when I was working, but I need to have purpose in my life. I need to have meaning. I've kind of reframed work from like, work doesn't have to be this negative thing you hate. Work can be something you enjoy and love. It also does, bring in income. But I think it was like not worshiping the work and the salary anymore, but work in and of itself is a good, healthy thing that people need to have in their lives. So yeah, I see my 50s as I'm still going to be working and contributing in some way. I don't think it's going to be at the service of salary or income. I don't even feel my life is about that right now. Right.
Gotcha.
So even less in that decade of life, kind of evolving into, like, we're talking about this journey of not being an employee so much and being more of a business owner. And also I love exploring more the creative side that I don't get to explore as much as being in where it's kind of structured and in corporate America. The things that
so you're not like the electrical engineer where you can, well, not the actual engineer. It's more like the product engineer where you can mold stuff and play around with it.
A little bit. I'm a systems engineer. So it's, kind of zoom out. I'm at that level, but but still, I don't have as much creativity as freedom as I do like as a business owner. And and I love, building a brand. I love social media marketing, like things that I thought I would never love. Right. But that's all journey, because these are all things that, like we're talking about, you never learn as an employee. You don't really need to know them in a workplace because you're just trying to follow the rules to get the next promotion. So I see my 50s as more of, being more creative, being more of a business owner, moving more into the self-employment phase of my life, more purpose and mission focused, less salary, less status, less job title, and all that. So I love that I can do that. You made me think about it for the first time. I never thought about how I'm going to be 50 in 5 years. That's scary.
Wow. Okay. Well, you look good. Can't even tell, honestly. So, is there anything you want to leave somebody before we dive into the final 4 questions?
I mean, I'm sure you'd say this too. Whatever you feel is in your heart, just go do it. Life is too short. Life is too short to doubt yourself. You have so much time to fail and figure things out. And why not do it? Like we're talking about, no one's looking.
No,
No
not at
one's
all.
focusing on you as much as we think we're focusing on ourselves. So that's one thing I wouldn't say regret, but I wish I had started moving towards this journey of being a business owner and figuring out my purpose and mission in life even earlier. Kind of the downfall of doing so well in my career is you don't question anything when you're doing really well in the corporate environment. If I actually had more failures earlier on, I probably would have been questioning and thinking about it more, but I was just going along and I was working so hard and I was doing well that kind of the bad side of success was like you get comfortable in it, right? So it's good to be uncomfortable and explore other sides of yourself and don't limit yourself.
I like that. Now, because we didn't do too much diving into this, because as a podcaster, where has podcasting actually taken you more so than what you thought it would do?
Well, that is such a good question because it's so much more than I thought it would be. Of course, initially, everyone thinks of a podcast as marketing yourself for business, right?
It's
But
true.
to me, it's a way where I can explore topics I want to talk about. Even though I do social media and newsletters, you're so confined by a character limit. And in the beginning, when I started, it was such struggle for me to produce any of my thoughts. It was perfectly fine where I could write like 2 or 3 paragraphs. But now sometimes I'm like, no, I have so much more depth. There's so much more I want to say about it. But social media is not really for that type of platform. It's more for like that quick bite, that quick nugget. Where's the hook? Where's the moral of the story? Where's the picture? And there's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like a podcast is where you can share more of your depth, right? And you can have these deeper conversations with people. You can share about topics that you want to talk about. I also feel, I'm sure you do yours on video and share it on video. There's just a different level of engagement of people seeing you on video. Because I feel now, especially with AI and all the AI generated content, anyone can whip out like top 10 tips for budgeting. And even people that aren't into personal finance and never budgeted in their life, they'll go ask Chat GPT. There are people talking about crypto that have no business really talking about crypto investing. You see what I'm saying? But I feel like on video is where you can't fake it. Video is where you come across and people kind of know, are you the real deal or not? Do you feel what you're saying? Do you really mean it? Do you have any stories or personal experience to back it up? Podcasting has given me so much more recognition than I thought, way more than being a YouTuber.
No,
Being a YouTuber as a middle-aged person does not get any recognition. People are like, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind? Why are you doing video? They do it, but that's a much steeper learning curve. Whereas podcasting is, you can turn on a Zoom session and record yourself. So I encourage everyone to get out there and start their own podcast. It's so funny. Do you have conversations with people where they're talking about podcasting? And this is what I used to misunderstand. People would say, oh, I want to start a podcast. I'm like, you should. And I give them a big pep talk. I didn't realize they're trying to ask to be on my podcast.
Great.
Yes, I was giving them this huge pep talk and telling them all the resources and websites and things. And then they're kind of like, yeah, that sounds way too hard. I don't want to do that. And then they're kind of like silence and they're waiting for me to.
I get the same thing. Well, because that's one of the things, like a lot of people say, like, oh yeah, I want to start a podcast and I got a partner and I want to do this. And I'm like, how about you build on a lot of podcasts, at least 5 to 10 podcasts first. See if you like it, because then it's like, if they're not giving you what you like, then now you get to see what it is to be on the opposite end of the camera
So,
or the mic, because it's a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of, well, you and I, we do research on our guests and stuff like that because I listen to your shows and they're great. But when it comes to actually formulating it, how you're going to market it, like that stuff, and how you're going to edit, are you just going to do it raw? That stuff comes into play, and a lot of
yeah.
people just don't have the time and sacrifice to do all of that. So it's just kind of like, that's why I just say be on other shows first, see if you like it, if you can maintain it. And if you can just do on a show just once a week to be on somebody else's show, that's like you running your own podcast once a week.
Oh, that is such a good tip and idea. I've never thought of that, but you're right, because it's an easier barrier to entry. So you see people starting podcasts left and right all the time, right? But people don't maintain and actually do them over any length of period of time. They don't actually see any of the results because they fizzle out after 5 or 6 episodes. But that's a good idea to be a guest, because it's totally different to be a guest on a podcast. And I love still doing it because it reminds me, and it puts me in other people's shoes, because there was a time when I was getting a little bit cocky. I'm like, why does people not just want to come on? I don't get it. I had to like convince some people because they were a bit like, I have nothing to say and I'm so nervous. I'm like, no, just come on. It's
Just come
okay.
on.
But I forgot what it was like to be in their shoes and in their seat, and realizing, oh, some people don't have the ability to speak off the cuff so easily, or have all these stories ready, or really even maybe dive back into their past, right? They don't think about it as much as sometimes we do because we're business owners. So yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. I should do that next time someone asks me.
Like, go ahead, just be on my show as a starter, and I'm usually am a lot of people's first to be on the show. So they appreciate it. And then they go off and do other things. I was like, if you're nervous, it's fine. Just come through. We'll chat. And like, you already chatted to me now. I could just hit record. It's that simple. And it was like, okay, so just keep it light. But yeah, obviously, you see, like, I mean, I could have a whole nother episode with you, just talk about podcasting because I love it. But yeah, so thank you for answering that question. So you ready for the final 4?
Yes, I'm excited about it. Yeah.
Okay. So just to let everybody know, if you're new to the show, the final 4 questions are the final 4 questions that I ask every guest. So you kind of do a quick deep dive into what they think about finances and what are their money mistakes. So let's dive right into it.
Yeah.
Number 1, what does wealth mean to you?
Wealth means to me like living a life on your own terms, whatever that means, right? So doing work that fulfills you, spending time with the people you love, and using money as this tool that helps enhance your life and serves you instead of you working for money anymore.
Number 2, what was your worst money mistake?
Well, it probably was that whole life insurance policy, buying whole life insurance. There was a time I had about $20,000 of credit card debt. I don't know how I let it accumulate so high, but I got that paid off super quickly. Yeah, those are probably my biggest money mistakes.
All right. Number 3, is there a book that inspired your journey or changed your perspective?
Oh, I know it's cliche, but I think The Total Money Makeover. And I've reread it over time and it ages well. It's that punch in the face. If you like, you have to kind of like that style. I love Dave Ramsey. He's not for everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you like that kind of tough, direct kind of talking, then you'll love The Total Money Makeover. It just made so much sense to me because it wasn't just giving you lots of financial advice. It was giving you a priority and steps. So I really needed the focus. I kind of knew there were good things to do, but I was doing a little of everything all at once and making no progress in anything. It was that focus on one thing at a time. And then I know people will disagree, but Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I also think you have to read that book at different intervals in life, because first time I read it, I'm like, this guy's like a pompous, like, know it all. I had no aspirations about entrepreneurship. And I was like, I don't agree with the stuff he's saying. And at different times in life, different parts of it hit me. So as much as I kind of don't always like Robert Kiyosaki. Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Get that book. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, after they came out, like, oh, the characters are fake. I'm like, okay, but the stories are there.
Yeah. It's more of a mindset book. It's not really like all these tactical actions. It's funny how I think a lot of people, their takeaway is, invest in real estate. And to me, he talks about do what you love. It's just he loved real estate, but that's not everyone's path, real estate investing, right?
That makes sense. I never took that avenue. I need to reread that book again. Thank you.
Yeah. Because I think people just think it's just a manual for real estate investing. And it's like, well, no, look deeper than that. He's talking about you got to do what you really know. Because I mean, he invests in silver, which is not for everybody, but he's very comfortable investing in silver.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Number 4, what is your favorite dish to make?
Oh, my favorite dish, and it's so simple, and it's a comfort food, is kimchi fried rice. I think it's the only type of fried rice to eat. You use your kind of very sour, or like almost you need to throw out this kimchi, and it's a way to reutilize it with day-old rice. And it's so good, so comforting. And then if you really want to make it even more of just a calorie bomb, you put like a sunny side egg on top of this mound of fried rice. It's like a whole meal. And of course you have some type of protein in there, but it's very flexible. You can use tuna, you could do bacon, you could do pork belly, you could do beef in there. And it's just like the perfect dish. It's probably not that presentable to other people. Comfort food, and I love making kimchi fried rice.
Alrighty. I might have to try kimchi again. It's been a long time. It's just that somebody in the office used to bring it and it was like, oh yeah, I made it at home. And it just fumigates the whole room. And I'm like, bro, are you having this again? It smelled like fish. Like I got to see put fish in it too. And I'm like, dude, don't bring this into work ever again. But, he was trying to, I call him culture vulture, but he was trying to do too much. And I was like, this guy not doing it right.
No, don't bring it to work. Yeah. I think I brought it to work one time. I got thrown out. It's okay. I understand.
No. Okay. So this is the very last question of the show, which is where can people find out more about you?
Yes. I'm very active on LinkedIn. So Sandra Park. And I'm also trying to get myself out there on Instagram a bit more. I envy your Instagram. I have my own podcast called Engineer Her Path. It's Spotify, Pocket Cast, it's everywhere, Apple, and all that stuff. And then I have my website, engineerherpath.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sandra, for being on the show. This has been fun, and it's great to catch up with you since FinCon. And I wish you so much on your journey, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Yes, thank you so much.
All right, everybody, y'all be safe. And remember that you have a way to engineer your path as well as keeping the lights on and making sure everybody's happy. So y'all be safe. We out.